everybody. It's 2025. We are so glad that you are back on the podcast. I'm assuming you're back to work. This podcast is going to get your creative juices flowing. We have Debbie Wong here from Santa Clara County Office of Education, and she's got a really unique story. She's doing some great things with social media and website work with a special little character. And you are going to meet that character. If you want to see the character, you are going to check us out on YouTube, okay? But she's going to tell you a little bit about Ollie the Owl, how the idea came up, how they've kind of progressed this, and how it's really helping them communicate and connect internally and externally. This is a really great conversation, and I just loved it. So you're definitely going to want to lean in to today's episode. And guys, if you want to hang out more with me in 2025, knowing you want to take your social media to the next level, check out our membership group. We've got over 450 school districts from across the country and beyond, into Canada, into other countries. Okay. So if you are a social media storyteller for your district, you can join, have up to 3 people in our group for one low price. And our annual Instagram challenge is coming up at the beginning of February. Okay. So if you especially are looking to take Instagram to the next level, you don't want to miss it because you are definitely going, it's worth the price of admission just for the Instagram challenge, but you get to join for a whole year. Weekly trainings, Canva template directory, a spot to ask all your questions, live office hours, webinars, skills sessions, work sessions, all the things. Okay. So check out that over at socialschoolforedu.com. Now we'll get into today's K-12 PR quick tip here. All right, today's K-12 PR tip. As we start 2025 and we put some pressure on ourselves because we want to reach more people, we want to come up with some creative ideas, and we're looking at trending things. So I'm talking about Instagram Reels, and I just wanted to share something that was a big reflection from several people, including myself, in December of 2024, and that is sometimes the most surprising little moments do the best on social media through video. One example, new seats on a gym floor or in a gym. They're really nice seats, by the way. Troy Laz shared those. Or Jason Laz from Troy City School District in New York. They're very cool. Reached like 30,000 people. Okay. Just huge, huge reach. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it was like a 6-second video of these new seats at the gym. Another video came out of Jen Bode out of Arizona. And she meant to share it as a story, I think, but it was like her number one fan that was reading a book, waiting between one athletic event and another. And he happens to be like the number one fan. She posted that as a reel with a little bit of music, and it reached like over 5,000 people when most of her reels do not reach that many people. It's just like these little things. And for New Auburn, we actually had a substitute teacher who's also our head basketball coach, and he was leading a little sing-along with students. They were singing some country roads, John Denver, and all the kids were singing along. It was about 24-second video. I added some text to the video as well, in addition to the caption, to tell what was happening in the story. As of recording this, it's reached over 42,000 people, and it's still climbing. It's climbed like 12,000 people in the last 24 hours. So I expect it to go much higher than that. But it's just this little moment. Nothing that was planned, nothing that we had to script out and stress over. It's just an authentic, raw moment that's happening at your school. And so that's my tip, is get those moments and don't be afraid to share those moments with in a video format. And I do think there is special power when you have words in your video on the screen, because not a lot of people with Instagram or Facebook Reels read the caption, guys. So if you want to convey a message with your video, put it in the video, whether it's layover of captions while people are talking, or it's just telling the story like I did with my little sing-along video. That is your tip for today. Okay, so tell those little things and use the words on the screen. Now let's get into the amazing creative ideas with our guest this week. Let's get started. I am so excited to welcome today's guest, Debbie Wong. Debbie, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Beautiful California in the house.
Yes, I
I was
hate to
just
say it's sunny today.
Yeah, I was telling Debbie before we started that we got a snow day today. So we got lots of snow coming down. But Debbie, been looking forward to this for quite a while. We met this
Yes.
summer and I met one of your secret friends there. And
Mhm.
I want to talk about that today. But
Yes.
before we dig into all of that, why don't you share your background and then your role as a digital communication specialist for the Santa Clara County Office of Education?
Yes, definitely. So in January, this coming January, it will be starting my fourth year here at SCCOE, Santa Clara County Office of Education. And I'm actually relatively new to the public sector. All my previous work, I've been in the private sector for about on and off 15 years. And so before coming to SCCOE, I've spent about 10 years in digital marketing, sales management for computer hardware, e-commerce business. So constantly generating, revenue for a website selling goods. I also spent some time exploring other options, like customer experiences and relations at a software company. Being here in the Bay Area, California, it's all tech. So, and you know, right after college, I did various work at digital advertising agencies, startups that didn't make it through the tech boom, tech. So yeah, I also spent about a year teaching English in Japan. So that was a very great experience. But I think through that, I realized I wanted to be a part of education in some shape or form. Not necessarily be a teacher, but I kind of discovered there are other things that you can do besides teaching and be in education. And I really am just so grateful every day to find this job, and just it's so much more meaningful, the work that I do day in, day out. And I really am eager to go into work every day. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what
yeah.
was your undergrad in? Was it in that digital
Oh, yeah.
marketing?
No, not at
Okay.
all. And that's so long ago. And so I did American Studies, which at University of California, Berkeley. And it is one of those majors that you kind of build your own.
Okay.
It honestly, my college I was a very sheltered child growing up, and I think college was really exploring social life and
Yeah.
just meeting other people and just kind of really exploring. And so somehow, I started trying to do computer science again, Bay Area, trying to go in that direction, just really couldn't do it. And found my way through American Studies. And then I knew though I wanted to, they didn't have education or certain fields that's in that direction. So I got a minor in education. So
Okay.
even when I was younger, I just had that interest. And so yeah, it's so long ago. And so nothing to do with American Studies anymore.
Yeah. Well, Debbie, my undergrad is in
Yeah.
chemistry.
Oh my gosh.
Chemistry and business. And so now I run a business, so I guess that's
Yeah.
similar. But I mean, back when I graduated from college in
Uh-huh.
2000, right? Like social media wasn't even here really.
Exactly.
So,
I did one of the courses I did take in business was marketing. I think I did a summer course, and then that was kind of my favorite course. And but no, yeah, it digital, yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't like that.
And here we are. So tell me a little bit about how social media fits into your role for your county office of education.
Yeah, so as far as even my role, the digital communications specialist, it is a new position, so never before, and created out of the need for content management on the website, and also social media and all things digital. So it was actually a really great opportunity for me to kind of tie in all the my background. I just personally have always had a keen interest in social media, and even for a previous job, trying to generate revenue from a social media account and playing around with that. So, in my eyes, anytime anybody tries to find information about an organization or anything, you're Googling, you're starting with search, and then nowadays people just go straight directly to the social media accounts. And so it's kind of an entry point for somebody to learn more about us. And so I'm trying to tie in everything and build a story from that point of, hey, I hear SCCOE, what is SCCOE about? Or even when they're driving past our sign, what do we do? Let me Google that and just try to tell our story digitally.
Yeah, so I can relate a little bit. When I first started, I was doing social media for a lot of different small businesses.
Yeah.
A caterer, a photographer, an accountant, and really trying to generate sales that way. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in some cases, some people that work in schools don't realize how nice it is to be
Yes.
promoting something that is like it's not really for sale, but yet it is like, these
Yes.
opportunities for these kids
Yes.
and just being able to share these incredible stories. The content's all there, right? We
Mm-hmm.
just have to be able to share it, whereas in a business it's
Exactly.
a little bit more challenging. But
It is, and I felt it was a little bit more limited on what I can and can't do. And just yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it's the
yeah.
same situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And if a lot of people don't come from that, I mean, they're in journalism or they're in
Yes.
teaching positions, a lot of people that get into this role.
Right.
But I wanted to have, as soon as we met, I wanted to have you guys on to share a little bit because there are people listening that are in kind of a service organization like yours. And storytelling and social media can be a little bit challenging, but you really have a unique approach. So tell me all about Ollie, how it got started and share the goods here.
Yeah, it kind of all started with a personal hobby of mine. I'll kind of go back to this is pre-COVID era. I had started just for fun. I wanted to always share like my travels, things about I love food, sharing food and just sharing information, but I didn't want my own face to be on the internet. I'm very, just the whole privacy aspect of it. I didn't, and I'm not a I'm really not a good writer. So a blog at the time, blogs were popular, and that wasn't really. I just couldn't see myself doing that. Videos as well. I'm very shy, really, and I tend to shy away from public speaking. So my outlet was always just photos and just even just developing guides and materials for people to read or see. So that's kind of where I started, and I somehow fell into finding my own plushie. And I really even just I don't know, it was just I think it was just for jokes. I think really honestly, I don't know how I came about figuring out a plushie. And so I just played around with it.
So when
And
you say plushie, you mean like a
yeah,
little stuffed
stuffed
animal,
animal.
right?
Yeah. And the
Okay.
one that I somehow got my hands on was I was preparing a baby shower. I had collected a lot of different stuffed animals and plushies to, put for decor. And somehow one of them just kind of, we just sort of started loving and just kind of grew attached to. And I had asked whoever, I just said, I am going to keep this one. And so I just started the account and just kind of played with it, played around, sharing information. And it really was only just to my friends and family. I didn't even promote it to many people on Facebook or friends, just because I was like, I don't know, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just doing this for fun, and just creating content. So had that, but it wasn't until COVID, when I had just wrapped up a job and just, was sheltering in place. So all my time was spent trying to create content and fill my day with something, and sharing information. And so I started just doing that and kept doing it every day, just posting, playing around, with content, different types of content. I think back then it was really just images. It's Instagram at least has grown to offer so many different types of content. So, and next thing you know, there was actually a lot of other plushie accounts, or so they call it plushie accounts, stuffed animal accounts across the world, and they started engaging with me. I had used, hashtags, and they're able to find my account, and yeah, next thing you know, I was kind of, engaging with a lot more plushie accounts and sharing, and people from around the world. There are some plushie accounts out there that have like over 10K followers. Some of them are actually, doing advertising content and paid partnerships. So it just kind of opens me up into this whole new world. So I was doing that, joined SECOE, and I had 3 months in, I had attended NSPRA in Chicago with my boss, the executive director of public affairs, Kelly. Shout out to Kelly.
Yeah.
And so of course we're in Chicago, and I wanted to, document my travels, the food and everything outside of the conference on my spare time. But I was out with Kelly and another partner, and I had to bring my fox, and I couldn't hide my fox. I actually brought a Fitz today, but he's quite large.
I love it.
So I had to just talk about it with Kelly, and it's crazy because somehow or another, just a conversation and an Uber ride that we had to our dinner reservation, I think my mind started to just go and think about, hey, this might be actually a really good idea for us to do something similar at SECOE. We had discussed some of the challenges we've had with sharing information in a way that's easier to kind of digest. Um, I think we're always kind of in a professional business setting, and we haven't had the chance to, allow ourselves to be creative on the social media platforms. I think some people don't see it still as a communication platform for an organization like this. And so, yeah, it just kind of after a while, I was like, I think we can really do this. Sharing just everything that SECOE is about, sharing our story. We do so many things. I think even for myself as a new hire, I had really honestly had trouble figuring out like what do we do? And every day I learned something new. And it's great. Like it's just we're doing such great things. And I just wanted people to know that. And so yeah, just in that short trip, we kind of thought of throughout, brainstormed. But it did take some time for us to get the ball rolling. Me personally, I wanted to spend some time to really just establish myself at the organization, kind of gain that trust and really figure out what it is I'm here for. And again, learn more about the organization before I speak about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, Debbie, I just think this is great
yeah.
because you took a personal passion, something that you were doing, on your own.
Hmm.
And then, through a conversation, just talking about it, then it's just like, well, why wouldn't this work for education? Why wouldn't this work
Yeah.
for our organization? And so I think it's so meaningful. I mean, to think about your own use of social media and then just
Yeah.
trying to get creative with how can we make that same thing work in our organization, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think we're different from a lot of schools might have mascots already, right?
Yeah.
At the games and everything. And we just didn't have that. And that's part of building out who we were as well. And I just didn't want us to be not approachable. Like I wanted us to be approachable. I didn't want our in content to be just so sterile and just kind of too perfect, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, just yeah, it
So
was kind of
tell me
crazy.
what you thought of, as far as animals. Were there a few like animals you
That's
thought
the
of? And then
thing.
tell us,
No, I think there was some research before as far as what animal we wanted, something kind of native to California at least, if possible Santa Clara County, and just have some meaning behind it, right? And so we did some brainstorming as a team, and just discover the burrowing owl, which is native, and you know it's owls are always kind of the symbol of being wisdom and t learning and teaching. And it just kind of, yeah, developed after talking about it. I did do a lot of research as far as like the negative connotations of an owl. Like
Yep.
what can people, how can this backfire as far as choosing an owl? I tend to think way too deep and too much into like the problem aspect of things, but at some point, I think, yeah, my teammates and Kelly had to just pull me on, and be like, let's go with it.
Yeah.
We, develop kind of personality or characteristics that we want, kind of a profile for Ollie. Um,
And tell me about the name and then tell me about those
yeah, and so
characteristics.
that's the thing. And also, so Ollie, we came with Ollie. Ollie kind of came from the skateboarding term where we're always, and it represented more of our team, public affairs, of we're always jumping through hoops and challenges and trying to, do kicks and flips and all that. And we wanted something that's neutral and just kind of it had that kind of rhythm when you say the name Ollie the Owl.
Yep.
And then yeah, just kind of researched again, what can Ollie mean in
Yeah.
different ways. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a lot of brainstorming on that one.
Well, doing your homework is smart. I mean, because Debbie,
Yeah.
you're younger than me, but sometimes these things can have different meanings. So I do, it's not like you're trying to be paranoid.
Yeah.
We're in a social media world. So all of us,
Yeah.
and we all know schools that are dealing with mascots that they're having to change. So
Exactly. I think even in football and just everything that's
right.
been going on, I think yeah, I think just kind of making sure I
Yeah.
do my diligence. There's gonna be, some area if somebody really wants to say something bad about it,
Yeah.
they'll find it. But
So tell
yeah,
me exactly, like if somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, you got this little plushie
yeah,
that is Ollie the Owl.
which I have yet to
Oh,
share.
there they are,
They
right?
are, yes,
There they
yes.
are. So how do you use it in a social media post? How are you using it? I know
Yeah.
I got to read Ollie a book when I came because
Yes.
so that was fun. But yeah, just explain maybe a couple different examples.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we had to spend some time playing around with. We didn't really know, based off of my own personal experience, right, and what I did with my fox. We just played around with what would work best for Ollie and our organization. I think in the beginning we didn't do as much content. We are just playing around with it. Brought Ollie to events, tabling events, and just had Ollie just sitting, sitting in the background. We didn't want Ollie to be front and center just yet. We weren't sure how this was going to go. So we did that. And then eventually over time and after kind of hearing the reception of people's comments and enjoying Ollie, Ollie ended up becoming kind of like a ambassador or like behind the scenes owl who just shows what we have to offer and mostly started out with events and bringing them to see the type of celebrations that we have and then actually a lot of people started requesting Ollie at some of their professional development sessions for educators and sharing that. So when there's new speakers, would try to take pictures with keynote speakers. Actually, Ollie went to this year to other events. And so, yeah, we typically do reels and videos. It gives a little bit more character. And then that's another thing where I had to figure out how to make them look alive and
Mhm.
more real. And so we could, just like the little movements and shakes. And then just content, right? Like if there's any information and posters, we always have Ollie sharing that, just like with you when you were
Yeah.
visiting and the book. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you could actually come up with that I could kind of keep going on with, but
Yeah,
playing around with that.
I just love it. I think it's so creative because it can
Yeah.
be challenging and especially like you said, you do so many things.
Yeah.
And to make a picture of, a thing versus a character with a thing. I mean,
Right.
it's really nice. So
Right.
what impact do you think Ollie has had on the services you offer for schools and the way that you're able to share those stories.
I think for now, like we've actually always been a great way for us to connect with all the services, the departments that, produce those services and offer those programs. We've been able to connect better with internally and then share their stories and share what they're doing. In a warm way. In social media, people just swipe through. And I think being able to have Ollie be, a video and be the kind of front and center, it makes people stop like, hey, what is this? And it's so cute, right? You can't,
Mhm.
everybody likes stopping at cute things. And so just having them stop and see what it is that we're talking about. It's been great to just show people what we offer. I think even just, yeah, employee engagement, it's been really, really good. I feel like we've connected more with different departments. People are requesting for Ollie now to come visit the schools or, hey, we have this event going on. We would love to have Ollie come, and be a part of it. And, now we're taking pictures. Before they were always behind the scenes, but now we're actually having them take pictures with, superintendents, students, just everybody that we can. And that's been really, really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I would love to get maybe 3 or 4 of your favorite posts, whether maybe a couple photos. We could definitely share the one that you guys did with me, but then a couple of your reels so that I could put those in the show notes so people could
Oh,
take a look. Would that be
definitely.
okay? So after we get done
Yes.
recording, you can send
Yes.
that to me.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
awesome. So, anyways, everybody, like, get creative, like, get outside the box. It makes
Yeah.
me think back, Debbie, to back when I was in high school and then in college. If we ever had to, like, do some type of crazy, presentation and try to do it in a unique way. I was a big Barbie. Like I had a lot of Barbies when I was younger. And
Uh-huh.
so we would like if we had to act something out, we would act it out with Barbie dolls
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
so funny. Everybody, was engaged and thought it was unique and kept people's
Yeah.
attention. So I just think in this way, it's also like, kind of going back to those creative roots. And
Mm-hmm.
you get people, it's hard these days to get people to pay attention to things, but if you get
Mm-hmm.
outside the box just a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't steal Ollie the Owl, okay, if you're listening to this. But
Inspired.
if you want to get inspired by it with something else, I think that's really great. So,
Yeah, and I think the other part of it that kind of came into mind was also a lot of, on TV, all the commercials and the ads and the things that people are doing, like Geico. You remember, maybe you might not remember the business name, but you remember who that is, the
right.
lizard and all the different characters that out there for the brands. And even I think Target now is the bulldog, right?
Yep.
I think that also kind of played into, I was always just really interested in that kind of marketing. And
Yep.
I think that also kind of channeled into how Ollie, can be, hey, there's Ollie. That means SECOE's here.
Yep.
And just really be our brand, part of our brand. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
another part of it.
That's awesome. So, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to social media and how have you tried to overcome it?
There's a lot. It's on that one. It's really, really hard. There's a lot of I think one of the big issues is just debunking the myth of social media and what it really is. I think oftentimes people think that it's a easy thing to do. It's oh, all you do is just post pictures and videos. Anyone can do it. Oh, I could do that. They don't see the planning that's involved, the thought and the just coming up with ideas like how am I even going to pose Ollie if anything or scheduling and then the analytics of it and deciding what works and what doesn't. I think that's just social media in general. There's just so much to it and to be able to explain that it's a communication tool, I think that's been kind of the biggest struggle, even within our organization, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, and then another one I think is also just with that even though a lot of people have been on board with our social media, another struggle is now to get people to tell us what's happening in the department so that we can share their story. Now that
Right.
everybody's on board, it's great, right? Everybody sees that social media is, part of the communication plan now, maybe even Ollie. But now we need more help with collaboration and getting that content was
Yeah.
another thing. And so we're slowly starting to, make plans for that. Developing email address so that people can share their photos with us, so that we can post for them on our accounts. Even knowing in advance what's happening. We've gotten a lot more last minute asks. I think now that people have social media on the top of mind now, which is great. Like we've come so far. But now it's always very last minute. So it's
Mhm.
like, oh, today, hey, we have this event going on. It's like, can you come right now? So now we're trying to think of, okay, next year, maybe we need to get a calendar for all the different departments to tell us in advance kind of what you think is happening and what possible opportunities there are for us to share this on our social media and really collaborating a little bit more and plan a little bit more. But yes, to see even that, just like that alone is part of social media.
Right.
Planning.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of work. So
Yeah. And I know everybody listening can definitely relate to
yeah,
that.
I think
So,
I think so.
so as we wrap up, what would you say is your best social media tip?
That's also a very, very hard one. I think besides following Andrea Gribble and learning from Andrea, with all your tips and inspo, I think for me, reminding myself that content doesn't have to be perfect. I think just to try not to overthink. I think that's been my tip for myself, but kind
Yep.
of have to remind myself all the time. I've always been very, again, like I mentioned before, just been kind of cautious about what I put out there. Yeah, I've experienced before in my previous roles where I ran into some conflict and online, and it's like, oh, like really put me down, and but that happens. I think that just happens, and so now I have to just remind myself, just don't think too much about it, and also leaning on other people who are in this field or doing this to kind of bounce ideas or check in with them. Hey, do you think this is okay? Yeah, having others around you who think the way you do with social media or use social media the way you do is very, very helpful,
Yeah.
even just for mentally,
Yeah.
just dealing with all the struggles.
Yes, definitely. And I love that. I think everybody listening, we're really hard on ourselves and sometimes we
Yeah,
have to be able to share it and mistakes are going to be made. I mean, I've been doing this for over a decade and I
yeah,
certainly have made mistakes that I'm like, how could I have done that? But it happens. It's when
right.
you're really putting yourself out there. But great advice. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for hanging out.
Yeah.
If somebody has more questions or wants to connect with you, what would be the best way to do that?
I think there's probably email is
Okay.
probably the best if you have that. Also, our social media is SECOE social media. We're on Ollie. You'll find Ollie on Instagram mostly. And then LinkedIn. I guess I could share the LinkedIn.
Yeah, if you
Um,
your LinkedIn, do you want to share?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll share your LinkedIn on the show notes and then also your email. So guys,
Yeah, I think email's good. And then
yeah.
and then if you're curious as to what Fitz the Fox does too.
Yeah, we can put that link too because I think you
Yeah.
shared that with us. So
Yeah, it's
well
it's the box.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you,
I
Andrea.
think this probably has a lot of people's wheels turning. It certainly did mine when we talked, and so I'm so glad we could
Yeah.
make this happen.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what Ollie does next.
Only can't wait either.
Yeah.
I can't believe the new year is coming, but
Yes, 2025.
yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening in today. We will be back next week with another fabulous guest. Have an awesome week and keep telling those stories. Bye bye.